Hello, everyone. My name is Hayden Harbison, and I'm coming to you from the KUCR station here in Riverside, California. And today I have a wonderful guest joining me, and that is Josh Emmons. Take it away.
Hi, Hayden. Thank you so much for allowing me to come on KUCR and talk to you and your listeners and viewers, people who tune in telepathically, everybody. Thanks. My name is Josh Emmons. I am a professor in the creative writing department here at Riverside and have been here. This is my 11th year teaching fiction predominantly. So I write short stories and novels and some creative nonfiction and criticism. But mostly I am here to teach UCR undergrads and grads the noble art of fiction writing. And that's why the main reason why I'm here today is to talk about other people writing fiction and poetry and creative nonfiction as part of our Writers Week series. It's the oldest free literary festival in California. This is our 48th year doing it. And so it began in, I think, 1977.
Do the math there somewhere. Yeah.
Before your time, Hayden, probably before most.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, unless your skincare routine is amazing, Hayden.
Yeah, the miracles of
Probably.
Zoom, right?
So I'm here today to talk to you about Writers Week, which is happening next week. It starts on Monday, May 5th, and will run through Thursday, May 8th. Every day in that 4-day stretch, we will have at least 3 writers giving presentations. Every day at 11 a.m., we'll have a writer, and every day at 1 p.m., we'll have a writer, and every day at 3 p.m. And each of the presentations last about an hour. The writers will come on, they will read from their latest books for about 30 to 40 minutes. They will do a question and answer session with everybody in the audience. And then afterwards, be available for a meet and greet. This year, we're doing something new that we're very excited about. We have pre-bought 20 copies of every speaker's latest book, and we're going to be giving them away to undergraduates who come to the events for free. So if you were to come to one of these speakers events, you could get a book, get it signed, get it personalized, and get selfies and fist bumps with some of America's, actually the world's best writers. It's an incredible opportunity. Like I said, free to the public. Parking is even free if you are off campus that day and want to come in. So that's it, sort of in a nutshell. But we can dive into the nitty gritty anytime.
Okay. Yeah, there's so much to this event. It's incredibly exciting. I'd like to hear a little bit more about the personnel that's coming. Some of these authors, I'd like to ask, where are we finding them? And are these authors that are, are these authors within our creative writing programs? Are they abroad? What are some works that they're known for? Things like that.
Yeah, so in the past, we have last year we did mostly it was mostly a Zoom event. I mean, there were some in-person things, but during the COVID years, uh, all the Writers Week was live streamed, and so because none of the speakers were having to be physically in Riverside, they were all over the world. This year, we are bringing it kind of getting back to basics and try to encourage live attendance at events so that people can recreate a sense of literary community. And so we wanted people to be back in the room. So this year we've concentrated on inviting writers who are based in Southern California. Some are in Riverside, a large number in Los Angeles, I think 1 or 2 in Orange County. But Southern California has a very deep, rich literary tradition. And like we're not New York, we're not San Francisco, we're not Chicago, cities that kind of wear their literary laurels, a little more openly and proudly. But still, Southern California has tons of writers of all genres are here, and so we thought we would take advantage of that by inviting. I think 11 of the 13 writers are based here. The only two who aren't are a writer named Steven Shaviro, who writes about science fiction, and I think he's coming from Chicago, and a fiction writer named Brett Anthony Johnston, who lives in Austin, Texas. He runs the Michener Writer Center there. It's a very prestigious place. Before that, he was director of creative writing at Harvard for 11 years, and he has written a couple of novels and a story collection. Brilliant writer, it's just fantastic. I'll be introducing him next Thursday at 3 p.m. So those two are traveling to get here. Everybody else is, like I said, Southern California based. Jeff Dyer is a creative nonfiction writer. He's written over 10 books on all sorts of subjects. His most recent book is called The Last Days of Roger Federer, and about the great tennis player, champion, the tennis goat, Roger Federer,
Yeah.
who is like probably unknown to everyone who doesn't follow tennis obsessively.
Yeah.
So
It's
Hayden,
like,
Hayden, I know like your eyes kind of went wide with non-recognition. You're not alone. Many people do not know this. A great
that's
tennis
what
player.
literature can do, is it can tell these stories.
Yeah, yeah, it exposes you to things that were not on your radar before. So Jeff Dyer, he's a British writer, but has lived in Los Angeles for a long time. So he'll be here reading, I think, some from his Roger Federer book, and then he has a memoir coming out the end of this year that he'll be reading from as well, I think. Let's see. Two of the writers who will be here are actually graduates of UCR's Master of Fine Arts program in creative writing. Edgar Gomez, who uh, graduated in creative nonfiction. That was his concentration, I think, 3 years ago. His first book was called High Risk Homosexual. It got a great review in the New York Times, and he has another book, I think, coming out this year. So he will be reading on Wednesday, May 7th at 3 p.m. So some people listening might have actually taken a class with Edgar, because our graduate students in our MFA program oftentimes will teach introductory creative writing classes,
Mhm.
and Edgar did when he was here. So some people could come out and support him. He will be, hail the conquering hero. And then Jen Espinosa is the same thing. She is a trans poet who graduated, I think, 4 years ago from here. She has got two poetry collections out, I believe, and she's reading on Tuesday, May 6th at 11 a.m. Oh, by the way, I should say all of the events are happening in IIST, Interdisciplinary.
INTS?
That's the one, INTS.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. 11:13.
11:13. INTS 11:13. All right.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's about a 40 or 50% capacity room that people will be reading in. So when you come to the event, there will be signage everywhere pointing you to the space. And then there's going to be a table outside that'll have the author's books, and that's where the authors will do the signings after their readings. So
Awesome.
all easy to find. Yeah, the other writers who are coming, Maggie Nelson is very, very well known creative nonfiction writer. She's written a number of books. Argonauts might be one of her most famous ones. She writes in a very lyrical, kind of experimental style, some autobiographical work, intertwined oftentimes with sort of grand literary and cultural and historical narratives. The Argonauts incorporates a fair amount of Greek mythology, for example. Let's see, who else? Joss Charles, a trans poet who has been a visiting writer here, and I think she was on faculty 2 years ago. So some people listening might have taken classes with her. Yeah, she'll be here promoting her latest book. And then another writer named Sarah Manguso, who is another great creative nonfiction writer, writes memoirish essays and books, is written for Harper's and lots of great publications. Sarah Manguso will be reading on Wednesday, May 7th at 1 p.m. And maybe I should backtrack for Joss Charles. 11 a.m. on Wednesday is when she'll be reading. And then we have one thing that's especially exciting and new to this year's Writers Week Festival is that Monday is going to be all Latinx writers invited by one of our creative writing faculty named Alex Espinosa, and sponsored by the Tomas Rivera Foundation, which is based here at UC Riverside. And so on Monday, the three readings are going to be a nice mix of genres. The first reader is a creative nonfiction writer named Jean Guerrero. And then at 11 a.m., and then at 1 p.m., there's going to be Xochitl Julissa Bermejo. She's a poet. And then at 3 p.m., Lilium Rivera, a fiction writer. So they're all reading under the umbrella of the Tomas Rivera Foundation.
That's really
Uh,
exciting.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think
So I
what's
think, oh yeah, no, go ahead.
Oh, so yeah, I just want to say that I think it's really cool with all these. I think we're in a special spot in Southern California with
Mhm.
so much diversity. There's I'm seeing a vast variety of genres and of stories in different ways. You're saying there's like some experimental writing, and I think that's really exciting and a strength that as Southern California writers we may have of that. We've all lived very different experiences here, and to be surrounded by other people with other varying experiences is, I think, a wonderful tool to use in our writing.
I wholly agree. It is one of the great selling points of Southern California. It's so vast. I mean, the thing that's kind of intimidating about it to a lot of people, um, that it just seems unknowable because it's so huge. I think is really an asset and a virtue of where we live. We're so big. We encompass so many different microcosms, so many different worlds within a world. And each one is as rich and varied as the next, and we all coexist for the most part peacefully. I mean, other than road rage, it's really,
Oh, yeah.
it's a it's a pretty safe place to live.
God forbid I have to
Uh,
go in the 90. It's gonna
I
be
know, yeah, well, I know. Then all bets are off. Yeah, then it's everyone has the semi-automatics out. But Southern California, yeah, a great thing about it is that it attracts lots of different people. Some are they look outward and they do like big art installations or they want to make movies, and so this definitely is a landscape and a culture I think that lends itself to people who live very much out loud. But it also has lots of intimate nooks and crannies, and it appeals to literary people who are more introspective and are writing in the old medium, yeah, literature, where you really have time to sit with an idea. Literature doesn't happen in 30-second bites, and it's very un TikTok. And so,
oh,
just
we
as a
wish,
kind of
yeah.
we fish, as a sort of antidote to social media and scrolling and swiping culture. I think literature has a lot to offer people who want to sit with ideas, who want to sit with language, and meditate on it to some degree. So Writers Week, provides a forum and a place for people to come and experience, the oral tradition, which goes back to pre-Homeric times. For tens of thousands of years, we've been telling each other stories. So Writers Week, I mean, this is the 48th year of it happening in this format here at UC Riverside, but really it belongs to a tradition that goes back millennia, and that's very exciting, I think.
Oh yeah. I think that's something that any artist can get on board with. I think as humans, we are naturally storytellers, whatever medium it may be. And
Yeah, 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 yeah. I agree. And nowadays, like phones have made it easy to tell stories in lots of exciting ways, visual and audio, and interesting editing everywhere, and splicing together images from elsewhere, and all this sort of bricolage that is modern art. It's terrific. But literature definitely has a place in it as something that spins long narratives. So if you come to Writers Week events, you'll hear maybe a 30-minute excerpt from a novel that will introduce you to a world and a cast of characters, problem or situation that needs to be explored and maybe solved or maybe just expanded.
go and
As well
find
as
out. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Come and find out. As well as poetry that some will be as short as a minute, and longer, more epic pieces will go for 5 or 6 minutes. And then creative nonfiction will introduce you to things that are happening in the real world. Um, and so it's a good mix, I think. And but all of it has to do with telling stories and expressing what it is to be human, what it is to feel, how we make sense of our lives, right? Because we're all doing that every day as we wander around. We're thinking about this, thinking, yeah, how does that fit into my life? How does that fit into my worldview? If it doesn't, what do I do with that? Um, and so as to get back to your point, Hayden, we're all natural born storytellers and interested in each other. Right? We're social beings, and so literature is a great place to come find out about another person or multiple people, expressed in a way that is very thoughtful. Because writers, we labor over our work for months and years. I mean, what might take 15 minutes to read a short story is taken the author months of like incredibly arduous, difficult, painstaking, work. It
Yeah, definitely.
poems as well, right? They kind of they seem like they just are so short they just chop someone's down, but they didn't. They took a lot of time and care and craft and attention. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, so you're really answering my questions before I get the chance to ask them, but it's wonderful. You've touched so much on, these telling stories is such like a human thing. And I wanted to ask, what do you think that someone outside of, this creative writing field could get out of this experience, of this event, where, maybe like for someone like me that would read all the time as a young kid, and now as my
Mhm.
developed brain is being warped by whatever TikTok, social media, I have a
Yeah.
harder time picking up those books and really engaging like I used to. And yet, still, when I come to it, I come to literature and I return, I'm so engaged, and it's a point for me personally where I'm like, why wasn't I doing this earlier? Yeah. So
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a very timely one, a very very relevant one to the world that we live in. Because you're not alone, Hayden.
yeah,
Um, yeah, pretty almost everybody. I can't even just say it's just a youth thing. It's kind of an existential 2025 thing. All of our attention spans have been so kind of like shredded by our phones, and that we a lot of us feel like we have lost the ability to train and focus on one particular narrative or anything for very long, right? Because our attention is so divided and there's so many shiny, flashy things happening all around us. We've all kind of turned into magpies, just looking for whatever is going to catch our attention for a second. We pick it up and then we drop it and turn to something else. Which has its pleasures, right? There is something kind of like exciting about it. We get the dopamine rush of kind of discovery, of notifications, all that stuff. But and it definitely has its place. And I'm not a neo-Luddite and someone who thinks that we could or should get rid of our phones. But I am a big proponent of prolonged, engaged reading because I think it helps calm our nervous systems for one, which I think we need. I think I'd say we're all anxious neurotics at this point in history, but we kind of are, like,
yeah,
because we're late for everything and we can't consume enough, right? And so if we don't kind of take intentional time out of our lives to focus on a book or focus on a conversation with a friend, I think like those muscles atrophy, our ability to do it atrophies a bit. And that may be something you were kind of talking about, Hayden, that you read a lot when you were a kid. And then at a certain point, books and the sustained attention that requires, like it just became like, it's just, you put it to the side because of everything the phones offer and everything that what's going on around you. But I do think part of you and part of viewers and listeners and part of me, like we do crave and get a lot out of sitting down with a book or listening to someone tell a story. I mean, we're here right now. You're a radio persona.
yeah.
Uh,
Oh,
so
that's where
you
I
believe
am. Yeah.
yeah you believe in the art of
Mhm.
speech and conversation and getting listeners to tune in and follow what you're saying. And it's an inherent human need, I think, to communicate with other people and to be communicated with by other people. So yeah, when you pick up a book, and I know it's increasingly hard to do, statistics about how many Americans finish a book every year are pretty alarming.
Oh
It's
yeah.
half America doesn't even read one book a year. So, but it is what it like. Life is a rich, many splendored thing, and I don't want to say that if people aren't reading, that it means that they're living half a life. That's not true. But books are they are very sort of value added. We get, I think, a lot out of deep engagement with the text because we're thinking about story. Then we're thinking about how to understand other people because so much of literature is kind of like their insights into the psychology of other people, which at the same time is insights into our own psychology. So like we learn about ourselves as we learn about other people. And there's just something thrilling about, following a story from the beginning to the end, like meeting a protagonist, meeting a hero or heroine at the beginning of their journey. Because, all stories begin with the world getting a little out of whack, right? Something happens that disrupts the normal placidity of someone's life, and then they do whatever they can to try to restore normalcy or restore peace or whatever. That's what so many stories are. And I think we just as human beings, like, we love, I think, to imagine ourselves as characters going through what a character will go through to try to get back to homeostasis. And so there's just like a thrill of kind of role playing that happens in it. I mean, you've seen Comic Cons, and you may know
Yeah.
some cosplayers. Like, some people, like, they live their favorite character, like, literally.
Yeah.
Which takes a fair amount of makeup sometimes and clothes and trips
Yeah.
down to San Diego or whatever. Uh, Whereas, when you read a book, you can do that kind of character identification in your head and get the, I don't know if it's the same kind of thrill or satisfaction, but similar kind of ability to escape yourself by being somebody else, which I think we all need to do sometimes.
Mhm.
We all need to, just take a little break from our own brains and live in somebody else's.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, coming to a Writers Week event, reading a novel, reading a poetry collection, reading a book of creative nonfiction, it's a way to just slow your life down and get back, rebuild those muscles of attention and focus and imagination that I are fundamental to all of us, I think. And
Absolutely.
yeah, just a sort of a good antidote to the high speed, rapid clip of modern life.
Yeah. That is no, it is that is it's deeply profound, and I think it's Shakespeare that said it best that all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. We just want to be these other characters, and to live
Yeah,
these
yeah.
different experiences is
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So this is a chance to do it. There's 13 different writers next week. You can be 13 different people.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's even more exciting with this event is because I could pick up a book and engage with the text at any time. But now with this
Mhm.
event, this free event open to the public, not only are we going to get to engage with the text, but the actual writer themselves, which is something that, you might not get with any other text.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, an interesting kind of, I think, great thing about a book is that you pick it up and you read it, and you might imagine how the author wants you to read it, right? Like, you might imagine how they hope certain words stresses will land in your head, certain inflections, but you don't really know, right? So when you read, it's your own voice that's telling you the story or telling you the poem, but which is great because we're all interpretive beings, and we all have our own ways of making sense of a book, of a poem. But when you come to an event where someone is reading their work, you hear how the author intends it to be heard, like what kind of emphasis they want to be on this question, or how long they want to pause to be between certain words. And so that's kind of exciting, I think. Because yeah, we don't, when we read a book, we have no idea exactly how the author intends us to hear and understand it. So you come to one of these events, yeah, you hear the tone of voice, you get sort of a window into the author's hopes for you as a reader in terms of how you hear it. And then yeah, you can talk to them. Like, writers, they're very friendly, domesticated animals. I mean, writers are like, they're
Yeah.
they're good people for for the most part. Some notable exceptions in history. None of
Well,
the like, who was it? Well, we don't need to go into any
Yeah, yeah.
sordid stories.
They who
But
should
the
not be
writers,
named.
yeah, the Voldemort's out there. But no, yeah, no. Next week's event is full of very friendly, approachable writers who would love to talk to you about their work.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah.
Especially, I've been saying awesome a ton, but no, genuinely, it just that approachabiliness I think is such a calling to people too. Because sometimes when I think, especially as a first year on campus, with my own experience, I'd see events happening, and then
Mhm.
there's this kind of like fear of like it's a big thing. I don't want to like do too much. I don't want to be in this big crowd, or like I'm
Mhm.
scared to. I think that students are often too scared to engage with something, but
Yeah,
with this
yeah.
event, because it is such a it seems that what students are going to take most from this and what the general public will is what they put into it as well. Of if you're
Yeah, yeah,
coming to
and
this event and you're engaging with it at a level which you're comfortable, you're going to get something out of it.
that's a very good point, and I would encourage undergrads and grad everybody to come to
Yeah.
this. Because yeah, like I said, the room where it's happening, it's not huge. It's not a massive auditorium lecture hall where you might feel intimidated asking a question. This is it's 40 to 50 people max in the room, and a lot of people who will be there are going to be your peers and people you have seen around campus. And if you ask a question of a writer, it's probably one that they have thought of too, and will get a lot out of the answer, and be grateful to you for asking it. So yeah, so we encourage people to come not only just for the time honored glorious tradition of listening to a writer read, but also to engage with writers and ask them questions. If anyone is a writer out there themselves and they want to know, how do you start a poem, or like how do you set a scene in a novel or short story that feels vivid to readers, or in general, like how much autobiography, how much of your own life should you use when creating characters, for example. Like all kinds of literary questions and kind of craft questions will happen at these events, and so you can come and ask them if you're an aspiring writer yourself or a practicing one, or just if you're curious about how they do it, right? How the magic is made, how they kind of like what happens when a writer is alone with their computer or piece of paper and a pen. So yeah, you can come learn how to do it yourself or hear how other people do it, and be surrounded by other people who are helping you make sense of stuff. And so yeah, very very approachable event. And like I said, I'll be there for a lot of it and be happy to talk to anyone who wants to come and learn more about Writers Week or about creative writing in general. But yeah, no, we're here very much for the students and very much want to give them a chance to interact with writers and learn more, be entertained, and maybe even improve their own work.
Absolutely. This is so exciting, this event that's happening. We've touched on so much about, I think just what the general public, what students can get out of this. Now, I want to ask too, what are some ways that us as the general public can support this? Because, you guys are in your 48th annual
Yeah, yeah,
Writers Week.
yeah.
That's pretty impressive. And it seems like
It's
there's so much to gain from this that I want to see this keep going.
Thank you, Hayden. Yeah, I appreciate the chance to implore listeners and viewers to promote these events on your social media, through talking to friends, mentioning it in passing to random strangers on the street. Like however you can help us get the word out would be great. I mean, we have posters up all over campus, and we've done some advertising with Inland Empire magazine and with Poets and Writers magazine, and we have sort of sent blasts out to creative writing majors on campus. There's about I think 185. Um, and we have, we've all individually as faculty are putting it on our own socials. But we would love listeners and viewers to do the same. And we would greatly appreciate you helping us make this year's event a success. Because we very much, well, we're going to do it next year too. Like this,
Yeah,
probably
you're
no
not
spoiler.
stopping the flow
Yeah,
of
after
this.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, at 48 years is a long time, and it's too rich a history for it to and anytime soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I mean that's a great thing about the year 2025 is that there's so many more avenues and ways to get the word out compared to 1977 when it was pretty much all word of mouth
Mhm.
and some like janky flyers put up around campus back then. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
even know how it was advertised back then, but nowadays it's fairly streamlined. And go to our website. I believe it is www.writersweek.ucr.edu.
All right.
There you can see a schedule of events. Um, there's the homepage gives some pictures of the authors, and then there's a tab that says schedule, which gives you more information about each of the writers and lists their books, and will tell you the time. Once again, the place is INTS 1113.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Monday through Thursday next week.
Monday through Thursday.
And
That is May 5th through the 8th. Is that correct?
yes, exactly. So three events, but I know I'm just repeating myself now, but I don't know
No,
how
no,
you're
you're
going to
good.
chop and screw this. Yeah, so each Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m., 1 p.m., and 3 p.m.
Awesome.
Each event is going to last an hour.
And especially for those two, this is open if I want to step into like maybe one session on Monday, a couple on
Yeah,
Tuesday,
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
go
yeah.
straight to Thursday.
Exactly. You don't need to register for anything. You can just show up, grab a seat. You can come into the event at any time. I believe the doors are going to be open. So yeah, if you go in, we're not going to barricade, the door, prevent you from leaving. Like
Yeah, you
if you
didn't
go
make the
in
line.
and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, if you come and have a class midway through an event, just obviously be respectful and quiet as you leave the room. But yeah, you can absolutely pick and choose events. If one on Monday sounds great to you and one on Thursday sounds great to you, come to just those two. If you want to make a day of it and come and do all three events, please do. It's a chance to score, three books in a day,
Yeah.
and have them signed. And someday, all these writers are going to be Nobel Prize winners. And these books, these signed copies, are going to be worth, a mint.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah. This is an
this is
investment.
better than crypto. Yeah, just come get a free author signed book and retire early. Live your
There
fire
we
dream.
go.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a shelf in like 50 years with a dusty old book, and my great grandchildren will be like, "What is that?" And I'll say, "Oh, that was from a different era,
A magical time, long, long ago.
magical
Yeah.
time. That book bought your college tuition."
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Bought
Yeah.
your, Fiji Island. Yeah, because like I said, these things are going to be valuable.
No, absolutely. Well,
Yeah. So yeah. To your question, everybody come to one or multiple events. Yeah,
awesome. I
we
will
welcome you
definitely.
in any capacity.
Oh yeah, I will definitely be poking my head in a day or two for sure because
Great, great.
I am pumped for this. I mean, I was, and not even to be biased, I was before this, but now talking with you and having this awesome conversation, um,
Hayden, you're making my
can't
heart
wait.
swell. This is very exciting.
I know,
Yes, the
buttering you
writers
up.
look forward to seeing you. Yeah, no, the writers look forward to seeing you. Your fellow students do. Yeah, if I'm there that day, I'd love to say hi in person.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
absolutely.
yeah, just come, grab a seat, listen, and sample some literature you might not have been exposed to otherwise. This is a great free way to just get a smorgasbord of words
That
happening.
is fantastic. All right, so we can kind of start to wrap this all up now.
Yeah, yeah.
I do want, I do kind of want to give you a moment as an artist yourself. Is
Mhm.
there anything that you're currently working on that you kind of just want to shout out or something like that?
Sure. Yeah, I have finished a new novel. So I published two novels in a short story collection, and my new novel is called "The Acrobats," and it's a contemporary novel that's set in a sort of undisclosed part of America. It's really the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, in a little town called Marquette. I've changed the names, to
Oh
to
yeah, as
protect
a writer
to protect
does.
to protect the guilty. Yeah. Yeah, so it's a comic novel that's kind of a two-parter. It's about a little mining town that has run out of bauxite ore. Nothing, no more natural resources to extract. So it's trying to figure out what to do next, like how it can have a second act. And it's also about a couple who are having marital problems, they're having like fertility stuff, so they can't have a kid, and they're trying to figure out how to save their marriage, or even if they have a marriage. after the dream of parenthood has died. So it's I mean, those sound like grim subjects, but it's done with a light touch, I hope. And yeah, just kind of like what to do in a town, what to do in a relationship when the initial kind of easy stuff has all been used up. Kind of how do you carry on is a question the book asks. So yeah, I have finished that and just starting a new project as well. Like with that book done, you like a shark when you're a writer. You know, you've got to keep on moving, otherwise you
Yeah.
die. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I've just started a new novel that's a little bit of a departure for me. It's kind of a mystery. It's sort of a little based on an Agatha Christie book called "And Then There Were None," about
Ooh, oh yeah.
eight strangers who are invited to a house. They don't know each other. They don't know why they've been invited, and things go wrong.
Love Agatha
Uh,
Christie. Unfortunately, she
yeah,
wouldn't make
me
it
too.
this year. I
She,
think her schedule was busy.
I think she does a lot of readings in the afterlife. Yeah, so she's booked. We tried to get her, and we don't know any mediums who could have
Right.
translated her. Yeah, but she's great.
Awesome. You have some
Yeah,
exciting
so
stuff.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, no, it's exciting to make things up. You know, you're never too old to make things up.
No,
This
of
is the
course
great thing
not.
about
Yeah.
creative writing. Yeah, you don't have to turn off your mind's eye just because you hit a certain age. Um, yeah, anything else we have not covered?
We've covered quite a lot, and I think that yeah, overall this is going to be a very engaging event, not just for creative writing students, but those outside the major, those who've never picked up a book in their life, probably, or at least in the
Yeah,
last few
yeah.
years. For those of the public too. Again, open. This is an open to the public event with free parking, which is a rarity here in UC Riverside. To take
Let's
advantage of
underscore
that.
that. Yeah. I know. Just even if you don't come to the event, just come get some free parking. Like,
Exactly,
why
right?
not?
Hang around,
Yeah,
get some
yeah.
panda after, you know? Yeah, in INTS 1113, correct?
Yes, that is absolutely correct. Yeah,
Aw-
next Monday, well, I should May 5th through May 8th. That's a Monday
Awesome.
through Thursday. Yeah, three different events per day, 11 a.m., 1 p.m., 3 p.m. And yeah, we invite and welcome everyone from the community and look forward to seeing you.
All right. And for more information, they can visit the website is
It is writersweek.ucr.edu.
great.
Again,
All
the 48th annual Writers Week, longest running free literary festival in California. We yeah, it's something that our school can and should be proud of. So
absolutely.
yeah, thank you, Hayden, for letting me talk about this. And yeah, we and creative writing are very excited about it, and would love to see you all there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Josh. I'll see you
All right,
there.
thanks, Hayden. All right, see you there. Take care.